This is Q54 to Williamsburg Bridge Plaza. Next stop, Jamaica Avenue and 168th Place. This stop is Jamaica Avenue and 168th Place. Next stop, Jamaica Avenue and 165th Street. Transfers available to Q6, Q8, Q9, Q17, Q41, Q56 and Q110. This stop is Jamaica Avenue and 165th Street. Next stop, Jamaica Avenue and 162nd Street. This stop is Jamaica Avenue and 162nd Street. Next stop, Jamaica Avenue and Parsons Boulevard. Transfers available to the J train, Air Train, Long Island Railroad, Q110, Q111, Q112 and Q114. This stop is Jamaica Avenue and Parsons Boulevard. Next stop, Jamaica Avenue and 150th Street. Transfers available to Q83, Q30 and Q31. This stop is Jamaica Avenue and 150th Street. Next stop, Jamaica Avenue and Sutphin Boulevard. Transfers available to Q20A, Q20B, Q43 and Q44 SBS. This stop is Jamaica Avenue and Sutphin Boulevard. Next stop, Jamaica Avenue and 144th Street. This stop is Jamaica Avenue and 144th Street. Next stop, Jamaica Avenue and Queens Boulevard. Transfer available to Q60. This stop is Jamaica Avenue and Queens Boulevard. Next stop, Jamaica Avenue and 138th Street. Transfer available to the E train. This stop is Jamaica Avenue and 138th Street. Next stop, Jamaica Avenue and Metropolitan Avenue. This stop is Jamaica Avenue and Metropolitan Avenue. Next stop, Jamaica Avenue and 132nd Street. This stop is Jamaica Avenue and 132nd Street. Next stop, 131st Street and Metropolitan Avenue. This stop is 131st Street and Metropolitan Avenue. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and 129th Street. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and 129th Street. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and 125th Street. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and 125th Street. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and Brevard Street. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and Brevard Street. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and Lefferts Boulevard. Transfer available to Q10. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and Lefferts Boulevard. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and 83rd Avenue. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and 83rd Avenue. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and Park Lane South. Transfer available to Q37. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and Park Lane South. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and Forest Park Drive. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and Forest Park Drive. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and 75th Avenue. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and 75th Avenue. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and Askin Avenue. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and Askin Avenue. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and 72nd Avenue. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and 72nd Avenue. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and 71st Avenue. Transfer available to Q23. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and 71st Avenue. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and 70th Avenue. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and 70th Avenue. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and 69th Avenue. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and 69th Avenue. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and Woodhaven Boulevard. Transfers available to Q21, Q11, Q53 SBS and Q52 SBS. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and Woodhaven Boulevard. Next stop, Cooper Avenue and Metropolitan Avenue. This stop is Cooper Avenue and Metropolitan Avenue. Next stop, Cooper Avenue and 88th Street. This stop is Cooper Avenue and 88th Street. Next stop, 80th Street and Cooper Avenue. Transfers available to Q47 and Q29. This stop is 80th Street and Cooper Avenue. Next stop, 80th Street and 68th Avenue. This stop is 80th Street and 68th Avenue. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and 80th Street. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and 80th Street. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and 79th Street. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and 79th Street. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and 74th Street. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and 74th Street. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and Pleasant View Street. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and Pleasant View Street. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and 71st Street. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and 71st Street. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and 69th Street. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and 69th Street. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and Metrorail Station. Transfer available to the M train. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and Metrorail Station. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and Mount Olivet Crescent. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and Mount Olivet Crescent. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and 65th Street. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and 65th Street. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and 62nd Street. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and 62nd Street. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and Fresh Pond Road. Transfer available to Q58. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and Fresh Pond Road. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and 60th Lane. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and 60th Lane. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and Elliott Avenue. Transfer available to Q39. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and Elliott Avenue. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and Forest Avenue. Transfer available to Q39. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and Forest Avenue. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and Andrews Avenue. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and Andrews Avenue. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and Arnold Avenue. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and Arnold Avenue. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and Nerge Avenue. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and Nerge Avenue. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and Flushing Avenue. Transfers available to B57 and B38. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and Flushing Avenue. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and Churchill Fern. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and Churchill Fern. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and Woodward Avenue. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and Woodward Avenue. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and Onderdonk Avenue. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and Onderdonk Avenue. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and Gardner Avenue. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and Gardner Avenue. Next stop, Metropolitan Avenue and Varick Avenue. This stop is Metropolitan Avenue and Varick Avenue. Next stop, Grand Street and Morgan Avenue. This stop is Grand Street and Morgan Avenue. Next stop, Grand Street and Olive Street. This stop is Grand Street and Olive Street. Next stop, Grand Street and Bushwick Avenue. Transfer available to the L train. This stop is Grand Street and Bushwick Avenue. Next stop, Grand Street and Lorimer Street. Transfer available to B48. This stop is Grand Street and Lorimer Street. Next stop, Grand Street and Union Avenue. Transfer available to the G train. This stop is Grand Street and Union Avenue. Next stop, Boringquin Place and South 1st Street. This stop is Boringquin Place and South 1st Street. Next stop, Broadway and Marcy Avenue. Transfers available to the M, J and Z trains, B24, B46 and B60. This stop is Broadway and Marcy Avenue. Next stop, Washington Plaza and Bay 3. Transfers available to B32, B39, B62, B44 and B44 SBS. This stop is Washington Plaza and Bay 3. This is Q54 to Williamsburg Bridge Plaza. Please exit through the rear door.